I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds, and we finally have it, everybody. Succession Season 3 aired. Happy Halloween, let's get into it. Okay, first and foremost, I've already discussed this in my other videos, so if you haven't watched those, I have a whole playlist for me talking about Succession, but I've wanted to get into the backstory of Logan. I really want them to dive more into that, and one of the first things we hear from Logan's side is Gerri telling everybody he hasn't really been saying anything, he just keeps talking about his mom. What's really interesting is right before it aired, right before it came on, Mom and I were talking, and we were watching the last episode of season 2 when they're on the boat, and I was telling her about how L. Ron Hubbard did that shit with Scientology. He specifically stayed on the water to avoid, like, having to follow laws and shit. I mean, he always stayed on these boats, like the Sea Org and all this crazy shit, so that if shit hit the fan, he could go to wherever or stay on the water and nobody could check him. And I was like, I think that's kind of why Logan is on the boat in that episode, and not so much to avoid being arrested yet. Maybe Logan knew shit could get bad, and that's why he specifically chose to be on the water, that they could dock somewhere or he could make things happen so that he didn't have to go wherever. So in the very first episode of season 3, what happens? They end up coming down to a list of places to go, and I really liked Roman's joke with that, with dragons all live there. I was cracking up, but no, none of them have extradition laws, and they don't have to send anybody back to the U.S. at all. We were literally talking about 2 minutes before the third season aired, was not being extradited back to the U.S. and shit. Back to the episode, we have Kendall panicking with Greg. We already saw this in the extended clip they aired, and he's freaking out. What have I been saying? If you've been watching my videos, you know that I've been saying that Kendall is turning full heel, and nobody has to go, I'm the good guy, over and over again if you are really the good guy. He doesn't give a shit. He's just pissed, and he's getting back at his dad. Point blank, period. Don't condone Logan's behavior either. I am biased towards Logan. He is my favorite character. But I like Kendall, but I've been saying this, that he's going to go full bad guy. He's not fighting for the right reasons. He's pretending like he is, but he's not. Just bullshit. And she's not even coming at it in a biased way. She's coming at it in a unbiased way and just going facts. And he don't even like that. And what does he say? I can't have weevils in the flour sack or some shit? That was funny. So not only does he have his whole spiel about how he's on the right side of history and he's great and all this shit, the media is following you. And so them getting the picture of her getting kicked out of the car doesn't look like a good look, bud. One of the first things we hear from Logan when he decides to finally start talking, because he's been plotting in his whole head. Now this whole thing, Kendall is acting like a rock star and Logan is preparing for war. But Logan calls out, which one of you knew? Who knew? And he wants to know if any of the kids knew that Kendall was going to pull this shit. I do think this, and this was, Mom and I were talking about it, I think he was going to originally give up Tom and a couple others, and not Kendall. But because Shiv comes to her dad and asks not to have Tom get in trouble, is when he says, like, then you know what I have to do, right? Like, and she fully knows that Kendall was going to get fucked. I think Shiv knew before everybody. She's very similar to Kendall, and she wants to take over for the wrong reasons. We'll get into that in a minute, but with her being all pushy and shit about stuff, it's like, no, you are a part of the problem. You are not a part of the solution. You don't give a shit. Throughout the episode, we also get Kendall calling and taunting the other side. Shiv, he calls Frank, he calls Roman, he calls Logan, he calls Gerri, but Gerri is the only one, and I don't know if this was to show, like, she had already had him blocked, like, no, fuck you, because obviously she is the hand of the king. You watch Game of Thrones, you know what I'm talking about. That's exactly what Gerri is. She's the only one who's trusted. She's the only one that he will talk to alone. Gerri all day. I love Gerri as a character. She's great, but her and Shiv, they have a conflict going on all their own without even saying it, and I liked that about this episode, and I like that in general. I like that Frank is being a rat, and Logan knows the whole time that he's being a rat. I don't think Logan knows that he spoke to Kendall, but I like that he calls him out for it. I like that he's not getting played by him again. Keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. I want to know exactly what the fuck you're doing, asshole. Phone call between Kendall and Logan says exactly what I've been saying. He's like, this is sanctimonious bullshit. This was a play, and you know it. You don't really give a fuck. Like, stop doing this. If not, I'm coming for you full fucking force. And a lot of people were under the impression that at the end of season 2, Logan was proud of Kendall actually coming for him and coming for him hard, and there's a respect there. We get that payoff in this when Logan says it was a play, I respect it. He says it straight to Kendall. So most people thought that, and we had that confirmed. When he said the sanctimonious bullshit thing, I was like, thank you. This is exactly what I mean. I don't think either one, just like in Sopranos, Game of Thrones, good and evil are not really good and evil. Nobody's really on the good side here. I'm just biased towards Logan. I just think he's a great character. He reminds me of my uncle who raised me. I just love Brian Cox. I like Kendall too. It is what it is. does give him a chance. He's like, just let's stop. You played your game, let's stop, whatever. And I understand, like, no, that's shitty. You shouldn't want your kid to go out and go, no, I was acting a fool and I'm on drugs and I'm crazy, and paint them in a terrible light. And even though Kendall is doing those things, and yeah, and it gets worse throughout this episode. I didn't think, I thought Kendall would go full bad guy. I didn't think he would say some of the shit that he said off rip in this first episode, though. So I'm like, holy shit. Well, thank you again, Succession, for exceeding my expectations. So neither one of these characters are good guys, is what I'm saying. So these lights are fucking blinding me, and I feel like they're fucking up my Halloween vibe aesthetic. Because I got new lights today, guys, and one of them is blinding. Well, I broke one, so I had to get new lights. Much better. I'm sorry, I don't know if it makes it better for you guys, but at least I'm not being blinded, and now I can actually think about what I'm talking about. But yeah, Gerri's old school. She's not bragging about it. She worked for everything to get to where she is, which is the opposite of Shiv. Shiv is also wrong. She is using being a woman as a leg up and just going like, this is a plus for me, not I actually care about changing the outlook on women or protecting them or anything like that. No, this is my merits, and it's something that should be respected, and that women can do things, and they don't have to just be picked because they're a woman. They're being picked because they're the best for the job. Probably am a little bit biased because I work in an extremely male-dominated industry. It's an extremely masculine environment. I have worked in a factory. I build trucks. I work on the assembly line. I have for almost a decade. I bust my ass. I'm one of the only people that knows every job. I can do repairs. I know what the fuck I'm doing. And not many women can say that there. It's not a flex, but it kind of is. I'm very good at what I fucking do. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm just saying that it's something I do respect. It's hard to earn the positions that you get in there and be respected on your work ethic and not other things. So I like Gerri as a character very much, and I like that message very much. Yeah, I'm probably a little biased towards Gerri, just watching her have to work around mostly men and avenue that and have to be a certain kind of way to be respected. Look at this woman who's worked for everything and deserves it, and now you think you can just waltz in and be like, well, not only should I be able to do it, but because I'm a woman, I should just be put in charge. No, fuck that shit. Women can do things. Our tits don't get in the way, and do them well, wherever it may be, whatever it may be. You're the bitch, like Roman keeps saying, and that's how it goes. And you are looked at as, calm down, you're being a bitch, whatever it is. And it's like, no, just drop the fucking artsy fartsy shit about it. I fucking like Gerri. She's fucking cool. She's fucking awesome. She's a great character. I think that in the past few years we've had the best representation of women on TV. I really do. Between Vikings with Lagertha, Gerri, Aunt Polly from Peaky Blinders, Helen McRory, who passed away, who was Narcissa Malfoy, Daenerys Targaryen. We've had, in the past few years, Arya Stark. We've had some of the, and now we have Succession. And that was something that I've always wanted to make a video on separately, but I guess we can go into it right now. The difference between the women in Succession and the women in these other shows, and I'm not hating on this, and I understand that sometimes it needs to be in there for the plot, but let's be real, a lot of times Game of Thrones is just throwing titties at you to throw titties at you. Tell me if we've seen any of these women bang anybody to get what they want. We've seen more behavior that we would typically get from male characters in the female characters on this show. We need a woman out there for the optics, this, that, and the other thing. And even though that is a huge part of the fucking story, the women don't come off like a typical female character would. Shiv is the one who wants an open relationship, not Tom. Marsha, her not being there, and her not being there at the end of season 2 really fucked Logan up. His ex-wife will do anything to get back at him, and Marsha she's there. She's the queen on a chessboard. She is, and she's great, and I can't wait to see what they do with that. I think that it's like, no, that's how these characters would act, and you rarely get that. You rarely get that these women all want power, and they're not sleeping around to get it. They're not having to get married. They're not having to do this. They're like, no, you want to do your bullshit and talk your shit? Okay, well, I'm behind the scenes fucking making moves, and we'll see how you get through this without me. I don't even think there's been a sex scene on Succession that I can think of off the top of my head besides, like, Roman's girlfriend with Tom hooking up, but yeah, and Rava and Ken, and we'll get to Rava. I mean, that wasn't no, like, Game of Thrones level sex scene or anything, and I just think that's rare, especially with a show on HBO. Let's just get down to it then, because, Roman is the most like Logan. He don't give a fuck. He's the one going, no, fuck this, fuck that, tell them to fuck themselves, we don't have to do this, we don't have to do that. He's trying to make moves and shit, and I think the reason Logan says no on Roman is because he hesitates. That's what I think. That's how I took that. And he's like, no, we say that Ken is exploiting these women, we say that he's a junkie, we say that he's off his rocker, and then, but I did like the line when he said, and he will self-destruct, which is his favorite thing to do. But Shiv is trying too hard, and she's pushing this, well, I'm a girl thing. I'm a woman. I should be out there. What the fuck have you done to earn that spot? There's a fly. Also, I'm going to call this out. I think Tom's going to flip on Shiv. She's already lying to him and shit and saying that she's not... Did Kendall call you? No. Did he call you? No. You're already lying to Tom off rip. I think Tom's going to flip sides. And with this episode, we don't even know who's on what side because everybody's still playing the game. Greg is staying neutral. He's just watching the media coverage on Ken. You know what I think about Cousin Greg and where he'll end up. You can watch my other video. Notice, once again, he is not going against either side of his family. He's just kind of there and playing his role. He isn't actively working against Logan or Kendall. I did like when Carl nominated himself and said, I like me. That made me laugh. He's being sneaky to each other in this episode. So we don't know exactly who's on what side anyway. Is with Logan feeding Shiv information. Kendall is calling everybody, telling them whatever, being a jerk. Gerri's putting in work. Roman's genuinely trying. And like I said, I think his dad was like, yep, I could be down for this. But then it's like, no, you hesitated. And to me, I cannot have somebody right now, and we're going to talk about this like it is a Game of Thrones, and like how Logan talks about it, and like, you ain't taking my fucking empire. So if I'm going to war, I want somebody in charge who's ready to go to war. And that is not Roman. He hesitated. He's not as ready as he thinks he is, but Gerri is. She's seasoned. She'll know what to say. I'd rather have her in while I'm going to war instead of somebody who's green. Let's put it this way. I do think that by the end, Shiv and Tom will be on opposite sides. I don't know whose side that is, but I have a feeling that Tom's going to end up on Logan's side and Shiv's going to be ending up on the outs. We don't know where Marcia is. Notice everybody's kind of paired up. It's like Roman and Gerri, Tom and Shiv, Carl and Frank. Oh, Connor and Willa, and we'll get to that. And then Ken and Greg. Logan is alone. He said, I don't talk to the babysitter. That was fucking great. Find out that the president won't step in for him, but he sympathizes with him, so it doesn't help, but it doesn't hurt. Talk about Connor and Willow really quick, because they're not in it a lot, but yeah. Know that Connor starts making moves for power in this, and he's probably gonna do some fucked shit, but Connor is just kind of worried about Willa's play getting better press and shit, and he's like trying to flip it on its head and make money off of it, and I thought the hipster line was really fucking funny. But like I've been saying, don't count Willa out. Willa is the smart one. Willa is the one who went, well, if this isn't going to work out for me, I might as well stay with this motherfucker, and I know he needs some type of backbone or intelligence, and I'm going to have to be that for him, and that's what Willa does. Willa's the one who steps in and is like, oh, what do you want Connor to do? So this might come back around now that I'm thinking about it, but I never noticed that Gerri, when Logan says it's going to be Kendall that goes to jail or gets in trouble for all of this, Gerri says, well, it works. And she stops, and she realizes that, and then Connor, like, rolls his eyes, because she almost said firstborn son, and then she's like, secondborn son, and it's like, yeah, another fuck you to Connor. I've been saying Connor's gonna prove to everybody and go, I'm a Roy, and I can be just as conniving and fucked up as all of you, and I'm gonna prove it to you guys this season. Naomi is a rat. Naomi is a snake. Naomi is using this situation. I said this I think I've said this in almost every video I've made about Succession, is that I've never trusted Naomi. She is working from the inside to tear this family apart, telling him, oh, you might be the best man in the world, all this bullshit, blowing his fucking ego up. Yeah, I think that she has been heavily involved in working against the Roy family more than Kendall knows. I think that Logan sees her for exactly what she is, using his son, using him to get what she wants and watch them fall apart. She's a sneaky rat, snake in the grass. She's holding a grudge from what they did to her when her mom passed away. Yeah, the second she kept telling him over and over again, because, once again, flipping the gender that it normally is, do you know how annoying it is when some motherfucker is like, send me a nude, send me a pic, send me a pic? No. And what does she do? Asks him for a dick pic. He says no, and then she pushes and pushes and pushes it, and from that scene, I was like, she's up to some shit, and she is using Logan's son, and Logan didn't like that shit, but couldn't prove it, and didn't want to pop Ken's little bubble. What I think happened on the boat, that's what I think was happening last season. I think that she saw her opportunity and she took it. I can't say I blame her, but I can say that I want her to get taken down. He talks to Naomi on the phone, and we'll get to what she does later in the episode. He makes the joke about OJ. And how do you know I haven't killed somebody? Like, fuck you, Ken. When Tom gets split up from Shiv and tells her, like, not to worry about her dad and all this stuff, like, that's Tom, once again, just trying to fit in with people he doesn't fit in with. I always describe him to people as, he's the kid that hung out with the bullies, that had to pick on people when they were around, but you knew, like, when they're by themselves, they're pretty cool, but they're just, like, putting on an act in front of their friends. That's how I feel about Tom. It doesn't make the stuff he does okay, but I feel like he's really a fish out of water and is just trying to get by in this family, and before it was like, oh, okay, and now it's serious. I do think that Logan split people up on purpose to find out who's leaking what, because it gets brought up, oh, Gerri being CEO is leaked, this is getting out. And so I think Logan did that to be like, okay, where do I have loose lips sink ships? Kendall can't go to his house. Kendall can't go to the company building. So he needs somewhere to go and essentially hide from the media. And so he goes to Rava's. Their divorce never got finalized, did it? Or am I wrong? Because if I was Rava, I would be like, oh, remember when you said that line of dialogue that you were stonewalling my fucking lawyers and you wouldn't let me get out of this fucking marriage and shit and you were gonna jam me up for as long as possible? Yeah, I'm fucking telling your dad everything behind the scenes. That's what I'd be doing if I was Rava. And we never find out who she was talking to on the phone, and we never see Kendall have any interaction with his kids or ask about them more than once. Kinda sounds like somebody we know. Are you like your dad more than you think? Yeah, if I was Rava, I'd be using this to my advantage, especially when I think that Rava was cool with it until it was like, no, I'm running your house like I run everything, and I'm given everything, and I'm entitled to everything, and I'll do that with you too. And it's like, no, that's not okay. She doesn't like that. When we have Tom, Hugo, is Hugo with them? Yeah, Tom, Hugo, Frank, Logan on the plane together, and they're talking in a different compartment about things that have happened and how Logan's always gotten out of it, and they call him the comeback kid and all of this stuff. They even bring up Sally Ann, and she was brought up by Gerri before, and I think, was she having an affair with Logan or something? Something was going on, but that name is dropped in another season too. Find out that Logan has gotten through all of this without going down, so he is gonna fight again. Also think this intimidates Tom, where he's like, okay, I knew shit had happened, but I didn't know, like, this might be the side to be on. I think that Tom is going to start playing the game for Tom and not for Tom and Shiv. And look what they do to Rava. Look what Ken is doing to Rava. How do you divorce this family? You can't. So if you don't know what they were trying to do with the lawyers, it's, say you and I are having an issue and I'm going to sue you over something. If I go and talk to a lawyer, and even if I don't hire them, if I just go and talk to them and disclose anything about what I'm going to do in court to that lawyer, and now you didn't know that and you want to hire them, you tell them what you're doing, and they go, oh, well, I can't be your lawyer because I have already discussed that with the person you're going up against. That's a conflict of interest. That is what Logan is talking about when he says we need to create conflict and call all these lawyers and talk to all these lawyers, because the more they talk to them and the more they say they're going to get through to them, even though he knows out of the two he wants, it can create them having a problem getting a lawyer. I kind of thought they were going to say something about Tom's mom for a second. I was like, oh shit, are they going to involve Tom's mom in this? She's a lawyer, and Shiv always makes fun of him for that when he's like, well, I talked to my lawyer, and it's like, well, okay, Shiv, you're all about, oh yeah, put a woman in charge, women are great, but you put down the fact that his mother is a practicing attorney and is probably good at her job, and you just look down on her. I thought it was very telling when we had the two women, Barry Schneider, the two women who come to talk to Kendall and about his media stuff. He will not let them speak. The first thing he says to them jokingly is, oh, is he harassing you? Okay, like, this is what I mean. They're showing Kendall being exactly what he claims he's not. Making light of the harassment. You don't understand why that isn't funny. You're in the middle of the scandal about it and you don't give a shit. You're acting a fool. Yeah, they keep trying to talk and he won't let them talk. He keeps speaking over them because he doesn't give a fuck what they have to say, and he doesn't give a shit about anything except doing TED Talks and looking good online and all this shit. Meanwhile, your dad is preparing to fucking destroy you. I think Logan was just testing people, and he's like, well, who should be in charge? And then he says, why not you, Tom? And Tom's like, I genuinely don't think Tom wants nothing to do with that shit. And Tom says he agrees with Logan about Gerri, and Logan calls him out and says, is this a reverse banjo? Like, are you saying do this so that I'll do the other thing? Like, what's going on here? I don't think Tom wants Shiv to get what she wants. I think Tom wants Shiv to get knocked down a peg already, but I just think that there's going to be more of a gap between them by the end of the season. I really loved the shot inside the plane, and the camera's panning in, and it's Gerri on one side and Shiv on the other, and that's when you know, like, no, there's a conflict here. They just haven't, it's not verbally said yet. I just really liked that a lot. That was really well done. And like I said, it's very good when the message is told to you through the way it's supposed to, and you don't have to tell me right to my face. You don't need to hit us over the head with the message you're trying to send. And I thought that was just very well done. And Shiv gets the phone call to go and talk to the lawyer that Kendall hires, and that's why she says, don't tell me anything, Shiv, because I'm his lawyer. To me, it came off like they were actually friends, or as close as you can be friends with this family, because Shiv even, like, shortens her name. She's like, come on, Lise, like, you don't do that unless, the only people who call me Ab, they either do it off rip, or there's somebody very close to me. Very few people just call me Ab or Abs with a Z. So, especially in such a professional setting, you don't go like, hey, bud, and when it's this serious shit, and she's like, what the fuck? So I think they were friends for real. Really get the message across about the woman thing when Gerri is telling Roman, like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, no. And I avoid mess, and I avoid this, and I do my job, and I'm respected, and now is not the fucking time, and you want to know what? It might not ever be the time, and I'm never going to acknowledge the fact that we had some weird shit happen before. Because I am professional and good at my job, and I'm going to continue to be good at my job. And unlike Carl, who is joked about going to the whorehouse, I cannot afford to have something like that going around about me, because I will look a certain kind of way. That's where things are different. And notice who's the one bragging about Gerri becoming CEO. It's Roman, and it's to Shiv, and Shiv's pissed off, and now we don't know where Shiv is at the end of the episode. At the end of the episode, though, let's get to that, because like I said with Rava, I would be using this against Kendall, especially after the way you are disrespecting my home and acting like you own me, own it, and own everything around me, and then you want to fucking question me about man razors when anybody can tell you men's razors work better than women's razors, point blank period. Mom and I both agreed on this watching the episode. Also, it's none of your fucking business if I fucking have anybody over here. You have your goddamn girlfriend popping open fucking wine with Greg, which was a calculated fucking move, I think, in my goddamn house with this fucking bullshit happening. Really? Okay. So I think that was just to add more conflict and show more that Naomi is a very calculated asshole. Kendall talking to the lawyer, to Lisa, who Shiv spoke to, we got that part of that in the trailer, and I said this before. Kendall wants his cake and eat it too. And even the lawyer's like, she's gassing him up, but it's like, what? So let me get this straight. You want to have your cake and eat it too. You want magically the company all be okay, magically everything at the shareholders be okay, you want to be okay, you don't want to go to jail, all this fucking shit, and so you want all of these things, and you want them all to work out. Am I getting that correct? And he's like, yep, and we're gonna make a movie about you, and I'm fucking great. At the very end of the episode, we have Logan going outside of the hotel. I didn't pick up on this, but Mom did, because I was like, what's he doing? And I kind of thought it was going to be the scene from the trailer when he spikes his phone against the ground, but Mom was like, no, he's lost. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. And she was like, yeah, he feels lost. He doesn't know where to go. He doesn't know who to talk to. He doesn't know where to turn. And this is one of the things I've been most excited about, is if they were going to go more into Logan's backstory, and the fact that they brought up his mom in the beginning and then have it end like that. Who is he going to turn to? Because where is Marsha? He needs Marsha. That's what he needs. I think that him and Marsha have a genuine love for each other and a genuine, I got your fucking back for each other. And I totally forgot how much her son was involved with things. Because what is that motherfucker doing? He knows about Kendall's shit. He's lurking all the time in season, not all the time, but he's around a lot. He's at Thanksgiving, he's at the wedding, he knows about Kendall and the driving, he knows about all that. He's in charge of one of the studios in Europe. And another thing Marsha does very well in seasons 1 and 2 is she comes off more like a bad guy in season 1, but towards the end we start to realize, like, no, you're not as bad. Like, you genuinely care about Logan, and I think that she means it in season 2 when she tells Kendall, like, no, you're a good boy, and she's talking to him almost like it's her own son, and she's telling him out of hard circumstances come better men, and she's telling him, like, to buck up. But she takes the time out to go and do that. I don't think that was like a play on her part. Maybe it was. Maybe she is that soulless and heartless and ruthless. Tell me what you think. But I took that as your motherly instinct is kicking in, and you're like, I need to say something to Kendall because he's really down. Know exactly who the fuck I married, and I know he's not gonna fucking tell him. I like Marsha a lot, and I want to know how she comes back in. Man, this shit is so perfect. We've been so excited for this, and it did not disappoint. It's perfect as always. Succession is the best show on TV. I think it's the best writing and the best thing I've seen in years. I love this show. I love talking about this show. But yeah, I just want to know what everybody else thinks is gonna happen. See, that's the thing, is like, I don't think anybody's like a winner here. I don't know how to put it. I'm just like, I'm real excited for episode 2. I loved episode 1. I'm excited for this to come back, and it did not disappoint. It never does. It never does. If you are not watching Succession, you need to. I can't wait to talk about it more. It's so fucking good, and I really do. I really think we're going to get more of Logan's backstory. I want to know what happened with his uncle. I want to know what happened with his sister. I want to know where his dad is. I think that, like I've been saying in my videos, the cycles of abuse. Where did this start, Logan? You feel responsible for your sister's death. You didn't really have a male role model around. You treat your kids badly. You treat them like pawns. Kendall, I don't think you're much better. I think that is a huge theme going on here. I think that was very deliberate not to have him with his kids. But yeah, tell me what you thought. Tell me what, I loved episode 1. I'm sure this whole season's gonna be great. I'm super excited for it. What's up to the Succession squad? Because you guys are the best fandom on the internet. You're the nicest. You're the best. I have yet to have a bad encounter with a Succession fan. But yeah, I'm happy with Motor City Nerds, and remember, we're still doing the giveaway. Start watching Succession if you're not. Watch my other videos on it if you want to know where my biases and shit come in, because that's a thing. But, and honestly, this episode was very tense. Did anybody else feel that way? Yeah, the giveaway. All you have to do is subscribe and comment on a video. The Loki horns with the glow-in-the-dark stand from the Emerald Empire. So yeah, make sure you do that. But yeah, I'm so excited that this is back on. Are you guys excited that this is back on? Comment, like, share, do whatever the fuck. It all helps me. It really helps me a lot, actually. But yeah, Succession. Get on it.